Hey, Larken Rose here. I've often talked about the concept of astroturfing. Mentioned it recently. It's basically a fake version of grassroots when you're trying to make it look like a bunch of people are all excited about some idea, some candidate or whatever, or believe something. Astroturfing is the process of trying to put out there the image that lots of normal people believe this and are excited about it and spreading the word and all that, when it's totally top-down, fake, controlled propaganda. And that's, I mean, every party and candidate tries to do that. We're the most popular, blah, blah, blah. But you can do it with ideas, too. And watching how the Republican political machine has targeted Republican voters and supporters with this and how well it works. It's kind of amazing and kind of discouraging. So I'm referring to it as fascist astroturf, because that's what it is. The fact that they're going out there and they're saying, you know, well, yeah, if those guys were going to bring boats of drugs to our country, it's okay to just murder them outright in international waters. There's no war. We're not at war with Venezuela. We aren't at war with Venezuela. And if you don't condition people to believe something outside of their normal beliefs, and then suddenly you shock them with it, they go, what? I'm not for that. But if you have a bunch of talking heads and pay a bunch of spineless, soulless, unprincipled slimeballs to go out there and say, yeah, this is what conservatism is all about, committing murder and war crimes. If you don't do that ahead of time, people will be like, wait, well, what are we doing? That's not okay. But people are so weak-minded, including conservatives, that if they look out there and all the talking heads that they listen to and they respect are saying, well, yeah, the president has to have the authority to just murder people in boats because the U.S. is under attack by these narco-terrorists. And so some weak-minded conservative is seeing a bunch of supposed conservatives saying that, they're going to think, oh, I guess they're not even going to think it at a subconscious level. They're basically going to be of the mind that I guess this is now conservatism. And the number of things that's been done for under Mango Mussolini is just amazing. Oh, now to be a conservative, you don't believe in due process anymore. And now we're all gung-ho about having the federal government and the feds being able to show up wearing masks, no badges, don't identify themselves, and kidnap people in broad daylight off the streets of America. Yeah, that's what conservatives believe in, right? It must be, because that conservative talking head said so, and that conservative influencer said so. And are you that weak-minded? And the list is just goes on and on of the just ridiculous crap that a lot of supposed conservatives are going rah, rah, rah for, not because it matches what they believed 5 seconds ago, because it doesn't, but because the talking heads and people with podcasts and all that, and the big names who pretend to be conservative are making excuses for literal, just dictatorial, authoritarian insanity. Warmongering is good when we do it. Like, completely ignoring the Constitution is good when we do it. So the study of the psychology of how weak people really are is fascinating and also sort of depressing. Now, of course, we just saw the exact same thing with the political left and the stupid COVID circus, like back in 2020. I mean, it wasn't entirely the left. Mango Mussolini was on the throne the first time around when they pushed that insanity, and he helped push it. It's the most beautiful injection of random stuff that you don't know what it is that you've ever heard. Just take it. Go get stabbed. It'll protect you, and it'll protect my bank accounts, because they're giving me lots of money too, and all the other politicians. But just believe me. You gotta believe me. You gotta believe me. So he pushed Operation Warp Speed. He was totally in on pushing that basically a commercial for Big Pharma disguised as news and this ridiculous fear-mongering. But if you look how many people on the left fell for that and really and truly believed, yes, to be a Democrat, you have to be 100% against bodily autonomy. You have to absolutely be cheering for forced medical procedures. Huh. Is that what you guys were saying like a week ago? Or were you saying, my body, my choice? Suddenly they shifted because they're totally weak-minded and their party said, no, now we believe in this. But studying the psychology of how that works, I think, is important, because if we're going to combat it and try to get people to not be weak-minded imbeciles, gullible imbeciles falling for the same authoritarian tricks that psychopaths have always done, we kind of need to understand what happens. And so right now, I mean, there's posts all over the place about it, and people, this one backfired. The murdering people in boats backfired because they bragged about it. They got away with bragging about being all sorts of authoritarian bozos and thought they could keep doing that. And then they were openly bragging about war crimes. And that psycho Hegseth, now he's floundering around. Blame it on an admiral. Throw the admiral under the bus. Blame him, even though you said it was you and you bragged about it. And other sources are like, that was totally him doing that. Now I'm going to blame it on the fog of war. Fog of war, you piece of crap. You were sitting in an office somewhere, probably getting drunk. Kill them all. Fog of you being a drunkard, maybe. There's no fog of war. You weren't there. Nobody was there. Like, it wasn't a land incursion with a bunch of confused soldiers shooting at people. It was you being a power-happy psychopath in an office ordering murder and war crimes. Well, they kind of overestimated how much they could get away with, and then everybody with a shred of self-respect had to say, that's a war crime. That's indisputable. There is no world in which that isn't a war crime. You blew up this boat, which is already a war crime. Then there's two guys hanging to it. Like, they're not a threat to anybody. They already weren't a threat to anybody. They're not even at war. They're not enemy combatants. They're not anything. They're guys clinging to a boat, and you ordered the murder. That's a war crime. Which, by the way, for those of you who care about the law, under 18 U.S.C. 2441, I believe it is, war crimes are punishable by death. So all you conservatives who pretend to believe in the rule of law, you can all be cheering for Hegseth to be executed? Because that's what the law says is supposed to happen when somebody does that. But you don't really believe that. You don't really have principles. You get led around by the nose by whatever alpha strongman you think is going to protect your sorry ass. But studying the psychology and watching how people respond, that's why in a whole bunch of comments, and it's funny watching people respond, because people who call themselves conservatives like a year ago would have said, that we can't have this, it's horrible, or 5 years ago, whatever. So now when I comment under something saying, bashing the war crimes and the authoritarian insanity and all that, I make it a point to say it's amazing watching people who call themselves conservatives cheering for this. Well, like, you're getting as bad as the left. Because the comfort of the people who just follow along like intellectual sheep who have no real principles, who don't understand anything, but who will support it because, well, the guy on TV, Ted Cruz, just said I should support this. And this talking head said I should support it. Just creepy bastard said it. And that's my party. Rah, 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 I'll support it. But if you point out to them, this isn't actually what your party believed 5 seconds ago. Are you too dumb to notice that? Because it's comfortable for them to go, oh, you libtards just are on the side of drug dealers. 3 seconds ago, all you conservatives were on the side of this thing called due process, where the government doesn't get to just punish people for no good reason. Remember how upset you were about the red flag gun laws? Well, if somebody says you might be a threat, then we're going to come take the guns first, go through due process second. How many of you rightfully lost your shit about that? And even lost your shit about Trump saying that. Like, whoa, wait, what? So disarm us and then later find out if there was a legal justification. Absolutely lost it. We have to have due process. We believe in the Constitution, and the Fifth Amendment guarantees that life and liberty cannot be deprived without due process of law. Oh, this week we're supposed to go rah, 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 not only about whisking people off the street and throwing them into vans with no due process, no proof, no accountability, the masked thugs not even identifying themselves, but now literal blatant murder of people in international waters nowhere near the U.S. No due process, no proof, no just, well, some politicians said they were bad and then they murdered them. Okay, well, we're okay with that suddenly. Really? That's the conservative position, is it? But if you point out the hypocrisy and the fact that you're not conservatives, it makes them more uncomfortable, in my experience, precisely because they're used to thinking, well, criticism from the other side, that doesn't matter because my party is the right party. But if they feel like something is criticism from conservatives or conservatism in the abstract, then they sort of get more uncomfortable. So basically criticizing them by way of their past selves and what they pretended to believe in 5 seconds ago makes them more uncomfortable than saying, the liberals don't approve of this. They don't care, nor should they care. But if they're pretending to have any principles, they can, some of them at least, can be made to go, okay, that is, yeah, I did say that 2 seconds ago. Like all the people you voted for said this 2 seconds ago. I mean, Trump spoke out against the war on drugs. And now he's just bringing it back. Oh, no, it's great. When he was against it, it was bad. Now he's for it, so it's good again. It's like, how weak-minded are you? Is it really that sycophantic that it's literally whatever that orange psycho says is what you believe on a daily basis? And when called on it, some of them then get uncomfortable. And the beauty is right now we're seeing a fine example of how peer pressure works. Because if you had a bunch of talking heads and they're dragging a bunch of weak-minded dumbasses who imagine themselves to be conservatives in the direction of rah, 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 arbitrary, unlimited authoritarian power, if somebody goes, wait a minute, wait, what? You're just killing people in international waters, and you blew up a boat and there were some people hanging on it, no threat to anybody, and you ordered them to be murdered. That's by definition a war crime. If one person says it and then a couple people said, like well-known conservatives, then suddenly the conservative sheep who are being led around by their noses are like, oh no, there's disagreement among the conservatives. I can't just blindly follow anymore. I have to like maybe think for 2 seconds and make up my own mind. We can't have that. And this totally relates to the Milgram experiments, where people will follow the instructions of authority, but if there are conflicting instructions, if there's 2 different commands from 2 different authorities, and one says, we must continue, and the other says, no, I think we should stop, the fact that almost everybody stops shows that if you make it be on the person, lots of people know how to be responsible thinking individuals. They just don't really want to be. They want to be able to defer to some authority. But the moment some conservative comes out and says, this is screwed up, and that this is why the whole machine has to attack Tucker Carlson, has to attack Massey, has to attack Marjorie Taylor Greene, like the moment some conservative isn't just following along on the bootlicking plantation and says, whoa, I'm against this, the moment they do that, the establishment has to destroy them so that the idiot followers of that cult can go, oh, they've betrayed us. Massey has betrayed us by saying the exact same things he's been saying for years. Now, Massey's obviously a statist, but there are things that he's right on. Like in every case where he goes, I'm against this authoritarianism, he's right. In every case he's for state power, he's wrong. That's true of everyone in the world. But the fact that they can't just go, well, you think that and we think this. It's like we have to attack him, say he went bad. He's a horrible person and a loser. And the fact that they have to personally attack anybody who steps off the plantation or doesn't, or even just like stays where they already were. Like our authoritarian agenda means you're supposed to be cheering for just complete fascism and you didn't. So now we have to pretend that you betrayed us by not following the psychopaths heading this cult. And the thing is, they pushed it too far in this case. So now there's openly a widespread discussion of, was that like totally a war crime that he ordered? So now Hegseth, first he brags about it. Yeah, we're super cool. And then he's like, the Admiral did it, wasn't me. Now he's like, fog of war. Shut the hell up, you evil piece of shit. I am completely against the government ever using the death penalty. I think there are some things where people should probably respond by killing somebody if they do something horrible enough. I don't ever trust the government to do that. But in this case, I'd be all in favor of the government executing Hegseth. Of course, that's never going to happen. But if you're killing your own stupid thugs after they commit murder, okay, I wouldn't complain about that. He bragged about it. It's not like there's some dispute over what happened or what he did. Well, now there is, because he's trying to pretend, no, he did it, and I did it. It was fog of war. I didn't know. You slimeball, evil piece of shit murderer and slimeball coward trying to dodge responsibility for stuff he was bragging about 5 minutes ago. But that change is precisely because even a bunch of conservatives were like, wait a minute, there has to be some point at which we're not going to go rah, rah, rah for these bloodthirsty lunatics when it's just obviously and indisputably war crimes. It's not disputable in any way, shape, or form. There were two helpless people clinging to a burning boat. You blew them up. And they weren't a threat to anybody. It's not like they were shooting at it. Nobody was shooting at you. You blew them up from a gazillion miles away. So the fact that swung back because they pulled too hard. It's like they pulled too hard on the rubber band and it snapped and went flying back. Because as soon as some conservatives go, yeah, that's screwed up, that we can't have that, then all the other ones have to go, am I following the herd and our beloved cult leader, lunatic, warmonger, psychopath? Or am I pretending to have any principles? And as soon as some other people are coming out and having principles, it's like, well, are there few enough of them that we can just condemn them and attack them or kill them or something? Or are we going to have to pretend like, yeah, us too? And it reminds me of the bigger picture version of the same thing, where like how many streets and boulevards are named after people who are now like people look up to them and like, yeah, that was a brave person and the government's going to name that boulevard after this person. Wait a minute, aren't you the same government that demonized and attacked and had him murdered? Yeah, but now we've seen the error of our ways. No, now the rest of the world saw the error of your ways and knew you were evil shits, so you have to pretend to be against that. Oh, yeah, the way Rosa Parks was treated, the way Martin Luther King was probably assassinated. And, you know, a lot of these people were statists anyway. But the fact that they try to deify their former victims, well, we're not that anymore. Now we want to honor, like, and they did the same thing with Hugh Thompson, the helicopter pilot I talked about in Vietnam, who actually did something brave by turning the guns on his fellow U.S. troops, said, you're going to stop murdering and terrorizing these people or I'm going to shoot you myself. And they went after him. They tried to demonize him. They tried to court-martial him. They dragged it out and terrorized him and made him out to be the bad guy for not being a war criminal. And then enough of the truth came out, and now they're like, we're going to honor him with it. You evil pieces of shit. You're honoring him to save face for yourself. You don't give a shit about what he did. You hated the fact that he didn't obey orders. And we're having the same discussion now. How dare anybody suggest that anybody should ever not blindly do whatever I tell them to? That's got to be sedition. That's got to be treason. In fact, people should be killed if they suggest that anybody shouldn't do whatever I tell them to. You have the President of the United States literally arguing that. And you have other people going, there's some point at which soldiers should disobey. Now, I'm over here saying soldiers shouldn't be soldiers. They should always disobey. Take off the damn uniform, go home, be a moral human being. You cannot be one in the U.S. military. You are part of an inherently insane, destructive machine. Even if you're not in combat, you're just kind of enabling it from behind. Be that as it may, when it gets to the point that public opinion can't be dragged that far in the direction of bootlicking insanity, then the propagandists for the state or a particular party have to back up and go, well, this isn't what, okay, now we're, okay, you have to draw the line. Oh, shut up. You weren't going to draw any line. You're just backing up because you saw a bunch of people going, wait a minute, I'm not going that far. And you saw the Democrats do the same damn thing after COVID. I mean, we said things, you said things. Let's let bygones be bygones. No. Get stuffed. You advocated fascist bullshit and destroyed countless lives based on a total lie and fear-mongering. I didn't say anything that wasn't true. I said a bunch of things that got censored by you assholes that were absolutely true. I didn't say anything that wasn't true. Now you're pretending, okay, maybe we went too far. There's no maybe, you did. You were bootlicking imbeciles, and the only reason you're backpedaling now has nothing to do with giving a crap about the innocent victims of the evil crap you pushed. It's just about you trying to save face. And it's the same damn thing with the Republican Party, Democrat Party, every candidate, every ruling class, every government, everywhere in the world, all the time. Because they have to have enough support from their human livestock that there isn't a revolution. So when they push and push and push, yeah, we're getting them really authoritarian. Whoops, some of them got away, and some of them are like, oh, I'm not sure this is okay. A few of them are saying, I don't think the emperor is wearing any clothes. If it's just one or two, maybe blow them up or shoot them or demonize them or something. But when it's 100, okay, we have to back up and go, well, on further consideration, we're debating the question of whether the emperor did, in fact, have clothes on. And, well, it maybe is, oh, shut the hell up, you lying pieces of shit. But to watch conservatives fall for it this quickly, I admit, is a little discouraging and disappointing for me. Because in my experience in the past, conservatives were more thoughtful, were more intellectual about their beliefs. Now, I was one, so I probably totally have a bias there. But when I debated liberals, it was clear that you guys didn't think this out. You felt this. You got fed this by political opportunists, and you felt like, oh, I want free stuff for the poor. And you didn't think out the economics of where does it come from and what might be the negative consequences of a giant welfare state. How come people always starve to death when they try this on a national basis to a huge degree? Like, I very much expect those on the political left to be more emotional and less intellectual than the conservatives. And to watch this fear-mongering nonsense work on so many conservatives and watch them just happily parade towards totalitarianism, yeah, that was a little bit disappointing. And now we're getting to the point where a bunch of them are, okay, maybe I'm not going that far. And there's a bunch of, I don't know, half of them might be Russian bots for all I know. I don't know if they're actual human beings or not. But there's a bunch of like channels on Twitter that post things, and you can see the cowardly backpedal. They just worship Trump's butt. And then they'll make a post like, yeah, Trump's rounding up all this. And then it gets to, they won't say, whoa, committed war crimes. This probably isn't okay. They don't have the balls to do that. They sort of put it as a question. Some are saying that maybe this goes too far. What do you think? I think you're a spineless, unprincipled piece of crap because you know it's evil. You don't want to admit that the dumbass you were cheering for and helped empower is doing evil crap. So now you're sort of pretending to be a neutral observer when you weren't. 2 seconds ago, you were kissing his ass because you're an authoritarian statist dumbass. And this is how you pretend to backpedal. Well, this is a tough question. No, it's not. Nor was the last 5 questions that you were on the wrong side of because you were an authoritarian bootlicker. But the sort of pretending to be, and there's the, I don't remember their names. I would recognize their icons on Twitter because a bunch of them show up over and over again. But the power of peer pressure working on conservatives is amazing, but it goes the other way too. So there's tons of channels on Twitter. Half of them might be Russian bots for all I know, like praising Trump, and I got a bunch of that in my feed. Apparently, they think I want to hear from a bunch of bootlicking idiots. But I'll comment under it. But it's funny to watch because if there's a post where somebody's like, oh, this is what I voted for, blowing up random people in boats in international waters. Really? That's what you voted for? And a bunch of comments under are like, me too, yeah, go Trump, I support you all the way. Now, a bunch of them might be fake too, because of the astroturfing thing. Make it look like a bunch of people believe that, and then the weak-minded will follow along with the crowd, even if the crowd doesn't even exist, even if it's a fake crowd. It's a fabricated crowd. I'll follow this crowd of NPCs thinking I'm being a good conservative because I'm following along. But it's funny to watch how a comment section can swing, because there'll be a bunch of people like, this is great. He's protecting America from these horrible narco-terrorists. Then somebody will just say, this is a war crime, dumbasses. And sometimes people will pile on him, and sometimes people will like it and go, yeah, this is indisputably illegal, and it's a war crime, and conservatives didn't used to think this was okay. Well, what happened? And you can watch a shift, because a few people will say that, and then other people will go, oh, are we allowed to say that out loud? Because I wasn't feeling too good about the whole murder and war crimes thing, but I didn't want to be the first one to speak out. And it's the peer pressure routine. When it starts to swing in the other direction, it can pick up momentum going backwards, because people can go, yeah, this is evil and insane. Why are we putting up with this? And so I believe I saw a thing. I didn't bother to check it, but I think it's in mainstream news that Trump's poll numbers are now like lower than they've ever been and way under 50%. Because like, how many times do you have to get stabbed in the back if you're a conservative? Like, he's he may be committing war crimes over here, but he's protecting us from drug. He just pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was serving a 45-year sentence for bringing cocaine into the country, and Trump pardoned him? Okay, it's kind of hard to spin that into the whole theme of he's stopping illegal drugs. And the Epstein thing was another one where a bunch of conservatives were like, dude, what? I can't make excuses and make this okay. What the hell is going on? And so people are jumping ship. Now, they're jumping ship way later than they should have. If you're actually principled and know how to think, the first time somebody you're a fan of says something that you think is wrong, you say that it's wrong. You don't kiss his ass and pretend that you agree with him. But so many human beings, including so many conservatives, don't have the brains or the balls to do that, as evidenced by everything you've been seeing under this administration for years, which is exactly what the left does, which you saw right before that for several years too, that they do the exact same thing. But it's if you understand how much peer pressure works and how weak-minded these people are and the things they actually care about, there are ways to make people doubt it and question it and back up some. I mean, they'll probably be disingenuous, total hypocrites and pretend, well, I was never really in support of that. Oh, shut up, you were so. It's like, where are all the Democrats today who, yeah, I wanted everything shut down? It's like, all of you were really loud about that back then. Where are all the like normal Democrat voters who are saying, yeah, it was good that we shut things down and destroyed the economy and ruined millions of lives? Any of you? Did you apologize and say, no, we were totally wrong? Or did you just quietly slink into a corner and go, I hope nobody remembers the evil crap I cheered for? Well, that's where we're headed to for all the conservatives who made excuses for just the authoritarian bullshit that Trump has been pushing, whether it's about immigration or the war crimes or anything else, or the stupid tariffs. They're going to crawl into a corner and hope people forget that they were openly being cheerleaders for just arbitrary, unlimited authoritarian power. Nothing close to limited power, nothing close to the Constitution, which they pretend to believe in. So You can just watch the ebb and flow of public opinion as these weak-minded dumbasses are dragged around. But they can be dragged in the right direction if pressure is put on them to say, you're really in favor of this. Conservatives 5 seconds ago were against this. So you're not really a conservative. You're just somebody who kisses the ass of Mango Mussolini, a New York socialist. That's what you are. Like, literally, he's celebrating the new openly socialist mayor of New York in the White House. So now conservatives are fans of socialism? He also signed off on the biggest socialist handout in history and is trying to do it again, or promising to do it again. Of course, his promises don't mean anything. He's just trying to get dumbasses to go rah, rah, rah for him, because that's all Trump ever does. But watching the masses of spineless, weak-minded wusses sort of sway around while propagandists for the state and propagandists for individual parties do battle with people who might actually have some principles, it's just a weird thing to watch. And it's just, and now the good news, if you can call it that, like I've said before, is those spineless, weak-minded people do not at all have the integrity or the mental fortitude to stand up for their stupid beliefs if they don't think they have lots of other people on their side standing up for their stupid beliefs. So when public opinion sways, they go with it. And I've said before, that this is good news, but it's also sort of frustrating and annoying. The whole world is going to become voluntarist. They're going to outgrow the belief in political authority and government, even though the vast majority of them will only get there because smarter, more principled people drag them there, not because they actually figured it out, not because they even understand it, but just because, well, they follow whatever is comfortable. And those of us who understand freedom have to make advocating freedom into the comfortable position and cheering for the enslavement of humanity the uncomfortable position. It's kind of amazing that that's a difficult task, but that's where we are.
Their pretty words have fooled you. If you do not free your minds from their lies, you can never free your bodies.